One dragon down, 6 to go as we continue our in-depth analytical look at Dragon Ball GT's Evil Dragon arc here on Dragon Ball Dissection. So last time, Goku, Pan, and Giru set out on a quest to defeat the 7 evil dragons and restore the corrupted Dragon Balls. They encountered and defeated Liang Xinglong, made from the Liang Xingqiu, or 2-star ball. Or rather, that's what the 2-star ball is called now. As I said last time, when it was first introduced, it was called the Aru Xingqiu. For some reason, animated Dragon Ball changed the name. The 2-star ball being referred to as Liang Xingqiu goes back at least as far as DBZ Movie 10. And yes, the baby arc uses the term Liang Xingqiu as well when referring to its Black Star variant. Well, I've actually done some further digging on this. If only I'd ever bothered to pay attention to the names of the Dragon Balls before I covered a bunch of villains named after them. While the ball is called Aru Xingqiu in the first chapter of the Dragon Ball manga, it's not called that in the first episode of Dragon Ball. Because Bluma's exposition is split up and shared with Mai, that particular line of dialogue doesn't make it into the animated version. I checked other instances where the 2-star ball is found later in the series, but it's not named then either. I looked into this on the off chance I could give Dragon Ball GT a little credit, on a technicality. I mean, if the ball is never referred to as Aru Xingqiu within this continuity, then this technically is not a continuity error. It's just a difference between the manga and anime, even if it's likely the anime just forgot it had a name. And I was just about to go with that, but I decided to reach out to my Patreon Discord server first, to see if anybody knew something I was missing. You might have heard of Seed of Might, the fan group putting out amazing releases of the Dragon Ball franchise, with stylized subtitle tracks and every audio track under the sun, not to mention color correcting, and I could go on. Well, iChaos from Seed of Might did a search of his subtitle files, and found that there actually is one, and only one, example of Aru Xingqiu being spoken across Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. It's said by Pilaf in a filler scene in episode 10. I had forgotten because I hadn't seen it in about 10 years. Remember that? I made a video about it. So, looks like this is a continuity error after all, although another commenter, Corridor1230, claims that Liang is probably better Chinese, so maybe they were trying to correct Toriyama. But a Discord user, Nicky Knack, thinks Aru is the more correct choice. I don't know Chinese. All I know is, for anyone who thinks I'm just too darned hard on Dragon Ball GT, I spent all this time bending over backwards to try to defend it on a technicality. That's gotta be worth something, right? Even if it is just obscure, nerdy trivia you neither knew nor cared about. That's the kind of thing I like talking about and looking into, but am I wasting time? I don't know. There really isn't all that much to say about the next dragon, Wu Xinglong, 5-star dragon. Frankly, a lot of what I want to talk about in regards to this section of the story is around it instead of about it. For example, this is one of those fights that takes place in an abandoned city. If GT has nothing else going for it, it's breaking away from the Toriyama staple of most fights taking place in generic grassy fields or mountains. Granted, it turns out that most of the fights in this story arc take place in abandoned cities, and that starts to get old after a while, so I must be careful what I wish for. Thankfully, there are still some creative uses they manage to squeeze out of the environments, but we're going to see a lot of characters smash through buildings just the same as if they're mountains. The trio go to an abandoned city to get Pan some juice. Also to find the next Dragon Ball, of course. Everyone is left because these weird goo blobs have infested all the electrical components. We get this exposition through an evacuating elderly couple who are far calmer about this than I probably would be. The goo belongs to Wu Xinglong and is his electric slime. Hey, I love that dance. And I love that enemy. I'm just kidding, I've never played Dragon Quest. I'm amazed I even thought of that as a reference. Wu isn't impressed that Goku and Pan beat Liang Xinglong. After all, Liang was the weakest of the evil dragons. Wu's the strongest. He's the 3rd strongest mole. Wu is kind of a shrimp and he doesn't look too intimidating, but he can control electricity. On top of that, when he gathers his electric slimes to him, he becomes giant and a big old rubber boy like Bouillon, who can bounce back all attacks. So, they fight for a while, and Goku and Pan can't do anything. Wu gets bigger and bigger and eventually zaps them into unconsciousness. However, just when things are at their darkest, a storm rolls in and Wu Xinglong is electrocuted. Whoops! Wu appears to be defeated and is willing to hand over the ball, but it's a trick. But who cares? Goku finishes him off with the Kamehameha, easy peasy. This is another early fight, so it's simple. It's relatively lighthearted, the villain has unique powers that not even Super Saiyan 4 can combat, which has the potential to make the combat interesting. I enjoy it. But it's nothing special. It's even less special than the last one was, and I already had some problems with it, particularly how it's resolved. That carries over here. In fact, it carries over a lot. Stop me if you've heard this one. The good guys have been thwarted by the evil dragon to the point that they are losing consciousness, about to die, and are reflecting on their mortality. Then, out of the blue, something comes along to save them and completely turn the tide of the battle. That's the same thing that happened with Liang Xinglong. It was just water killing them instead of electricity, and it was Giru saving them instead of water. And it was also focusing Pan instead of Goku. So this suffers from repetition, but it also suffers from a complete lack of agency. With Liang, at least it's Giru, one of their own, who saves them, and then it's Pan who figures out the plan with the spring, and it's Goku who carries it out. It's not an amazingly satisfying plan, but at least it's a plan. This is all luck. The heroes accomplish nothing prior to this. With 7 dragons, I'd be fine with one of them going down in such an unexpected and passive way, but coupling this with how similar it is to what we just saw last time, it's quite a letdown. I think it'd be far better if Wu succeeded in separating and retreating before he shorted out. Then the heroes would learn his weakness and have to figure out how they can exploit it in the future. Hey, maybe it could tie back to Pan's can of juice. Just pour some juice on him. I get the feeling the writers also weren't too keen on the idea of Luigi winning by doing absolutely nothing. That's why there's this hoist by his own petard moment of Wu trying to trick Pan, forcing Goku to kill him the old-fashioned way. And this is the instant the show inadvertently inspired me to ask some very important questions. I say inadvertently because it never really seems at all interested in answering them. And the questions are, what if that didn't happen? What if Wu was sincere in accepting defeat and handing over the Dragon Ball? What would be the outcome of that? Would that even work? Would that fix the Dragon Ball? Evidence seems to suggest it wouldn't. So if an evil dragon surrenders, would Goku still have to murder that dragon in cold blood for the sake of the Earth? That would be quite the dilemma to have to sort out. I'm not going to delve too deeply into this today. I think it's better to wait until a few dragons later. Just keep it tucked away in the back of your mind as we continue forward. If you've seen this whole storyline, you will know that the show keeps edging right up to situations that beg for resolutions to these questions, but then always finds a way to avoid having to address them. To me, though, this moment is really the only worthwhile one in the Wu Shenlong episode. Oh, the places we could go. Oh, one more thing. Wu tells Goku that he was made from the wish to bring Goku back to life just prior to the battle with Nappa and Vegeta. Goku comments that this makes them like brothers. And yeah, I can see the logic in that Wu was born and Goku could be said to have been reborn. It's not the last time we'll see dragon brothers. So yeah, Wu Shenlong does introduce ideas, good ideas. Why does it always sound like I'm damning this show with faint praise? Well, now it's time for me to damn it with criticism. This is the final episode to use Blue Velvet as its ending theme. Boo! Boo this show! Boo! It's bad that it's replaced at all, especially after such a short run, only 10 episodes, but it's especially odd to swap it on the 4th episode of a storyline. It would have made far more sense to swap it out after episode 47, to give Super Number 17 its own identity. Then again, that would result in 3 fewer episodes of Blue Velvet, so what am I really complaining about? It's replaced with Sabitsu Ita Machine Gun De Imao Uchi Nuko, or Let's Blast Through This Moment with a Rusty Machine Gun. Great name. It's a fairly low-key song, really more of a ballad, which is a huge contrast to Blue Velvet's upbeat rock. Visually, it's entirely different from the other endings. All the others incorporated various vignettes, be it Dragon Ball hunting or the daily lives of its characters. This consists of only two main images. One of GT's Goku reflecting on his life as images of Goku progressing through the ages walk towards the camera. The second occurs when the present Goku turns around to find his family and friends waiting for him. He walks towards them, now his natural age instead of the kid he's been forced to be. We finally get to see regular adult Goku with a tail. While it tantalizes us with an image of what the show could be, this carries on that reflective, nostalgic vibe the previous two endings had established. The second ending framed that nostalgia with wistful reflection, the third with raucous excitement. This one feels extremely melancholic. It's over. It has to know it's over. Even the lyrics of the song want to blast through this moment and head on to some other town, even though it's foolish. Maybe it is a complete coincidence, maybe it is me reading into this with my knowledge that the show is about to end, but it does feel like Dragon Ball GT is saying goodbye. And because of that, as I'm writing this, I now get why so many people in my experience say this is their favorite GT ending. For me, though, it's actually my least favorite. That's not to say I dislike it in any way, it just means I like the other three a little bit more. I definitely appreciate it, though. The next episode does something that I commented last time I wished would happen. It actually brings characters into the story. That's probably the reason why I remember this episode far better than any other in this story arc. This adventure brings us to a small fishing village where the arrival of a princess, seemingly some sort of water deity, has caused fish to rain down from the sky. The fishermen no longer have to fish and spend all their time drinking. In addition, all the birds are being injured. This is clearly the work of an evil dragon. The only person to recognize how bad this is this little Bish. No, seriously, that's his name. His name is Bish. It rhymes with fish. And won't the heroes grant his wish? He stands up to all the lazy drunks in town, trying to warn them against this princess. Bish's dad responds to this by throwing his metal flask at the kid. Thankfully, Goku is there to catch it in his teeth, but geez, I get the feeling this town sucked just fine all on its own. I agree with Goku's response that you shouldn't be rough on your kids like that, but I freely admit that Goku himself probably takes that advice to an extreme. Sure enough, the princess is Liu Xinglong, the 6-star dragon, and she wastes no time roughing up the fishermen when they try to worship her. And I have to admit, as fun a concept as this is, I'm not sure if I really understand it. If I'm being extraordinarily generous, I use that phrase a lot lately, don't I? I could say that each of these dragon fights has taken a day. I'll even say that the day the Dragon Balls were brought together was its own separate day. That means at its absolute best, this princess has been around for 3 days. I get villages and cities evacuating immediately if a cataclysmic threat attacks, but here the timeline seems impossibly cramped. In just 3 days, every worker in this town has entirely upended his life and fully accepted this seeming miracle? In 3 days? Even though it's probably more like 1 day? It just seems hard for me to accept this parable of laziness and doing things the easy way if the fishermen basically just had a weekend off. I like imagining the corrupted Dragon Balls as a corrupting influence. What if their presence is influencing the people? It's not just about destruction, it's about making the world worse in other ways. And this is particularly apt. The people here are overly dependent on a miracle, just like the heroes have been overly dependent on solving their problems with the Dragon Balls. But if that's what's happening here, why does Liu Xinglong attack them and give the game away? What's in it for her? So, okay, maybe that's not her plan. Maybe this isn't a sophisticated callback to the premise of this arc. Maybe she's just causing chaos and destruction in the water, and all of this raining fish is simply a byproduct of violence. The town is just misinterpreting evil as divinity. So, why is she only attacking the people now? Why did she leave them alone for however long it took them to codify a religion around her? I guess it's fitting this ties into spirituality because this episode is forcing me to take a lot of things on faith. So, Liu Xinglong is the only feminine-coded evil dragon, and yeah, they play into that. Obviously, she is seen as a benevolent spirit, a princess, a goddess. But of course, that also means that the wish that made her was the very first wish, Oolong's wish for panties. It's something she's very insecure about, which I love. It's probably the funniest bit in the entire arc. It's something they kinda have to address at some point because this is really the wish that stands out. Every other wish is serious business. Most of the other wishes are to bring people back from the dead. And this is just a gal's panties. I guess they didn't technically have to use that wish. For example, the wishes made right after Cell apparently didn't create evil dragons, nor did the wish after the conflict with Piccolo, even though they're both shown during the initial exposition. It's a little bit awkward that there have been 10 wishes made over the course of the series, but only 7 Dragon Balls in which to manifest them. But what are they gonna do? 3 wishes have to be left out. They could have swapped this out for, say, the bomb removal, but I'm glad they didn't. Every other time it comes up in conversation what wish created a dragon, it's nothing more than a factoid, a bit of trivia. This actually makes a scene. Everybody's reaction to this information is just golden. Goku yucks it up at the good old days, even agreeing with the dragon that it was pretty frivolous. Pan is flabbergasted, wondering what kind of insane stuff her grandpa used to get up to. It's not as if the embarrassment humor stops there. Liu Xinglong's powers are hurricane and tornado based, and they eventually shred all of Goku's clothes. Goku, as always, is perfectly fine fighting naked, but Pan hastily calls for a timeout to give him a spare uniform. Liu gratefully allows it. Goku, however, gleefully announces that he's discovered Liu's secret, which is that she's spinning like a top, which creates a de facto barrier. Liu admits this is true and also, for some reason, reveals that her appearance isn't actually her natural form. Her true form is a more monstrous-looking thing. This isn't really a transformation, well, in the context of Dragon Ball fight transformations. She briefly shows it and then says that she has never allowed anyone who has seen it to live. I just have a lot of questions about this. Who has seen it before? Who has she killed? Again, she's barely existed for any length of time at all. But my main question is, what is the point of this, narratively? If this was a transformation, her holding back a stronger form she would use for the rest of the fight, I would complain it's old hat, but at least it would serve a function. Here it's just, okay, how about that? Nobody asked, but thanks for sharing. If you're going to add this, then make it mean something in the story. These dumb rubes think a princess is raining fish down on them? Well, why not have it so that Liu takes on that identity, an image from their folklore in order to play into that perception, to further trick and manipulate them? At best, this seems like a rather weak, extraordinarily cliched attempt at characterization. Liu is coded as a woman? Well, let's make her vain about her appearance. Now she's a character. Hey, remember the GT special that just aired a few months earlier? It did that too. And even that at least did a little with it. My other guess is that they threw in this reveal to keep the audience from asking why she doesn't really look all that much like a dragon. I don't know about you, but I was never wondering that. She has blue skin, she has a tail. There are 7 dragons that have to look as distinct as possible. Whatever, she's fine. However, my sub-guess to that other guess is that they gave her a more masculine appearance so they wouldn't have to explain why she's a woman, which would be even more ridiculous given that they never feel they have to explain why the other dragons are coded as men. It's that stupid idea that masculine is the default, but feminine has to be justified. Well, on the bright side, I swear I've seen at least one trans friend assert Liu was unintentionally coded as trans and was happy to claim her. So at least this is doing somebody some good. For me, though, I think it's a waste of a potentially good story, which is what I care about the most. Anyway, Goku says he can do her trick too. The spinning thing, not the pointless other form thing. And yeah, I know he can do that. He did it a long time ago when he was fighting Namu. But while he actually looked like he was spinning back then, now the result is that he just has a weird yellow worm's tail. Okay. They bash into each other a bit, but eventually Liu gets the upper hand. It looks like all is lost. But then Bish's pet seagull named, Gull, flies in from above and hits Liu right in the Dragon Balls. Pan realizes that Liu is vulnerable because there's a calm in the eye of the storm. Yeah, logical enough. Pan calls a timeout so that she can fly above Liu and fire a Kamehameha at her. Wow, geez, that's a bit rich coming from the side that was complaining about fighting dirty 2 dragons ago. Unfortunately, Pan's Kamehameha isn't enough to finish the job. She doesn't have the GT Kamehameha like Goku does, so he gets to destroy Liu Xinglong. Well, that's just... whatever. I mean, having the girl fight is a pretty stock cliche too, but come on, there are 7 dragons. Could we let Pan take out one of them, even one as inconsequential as this? Oh yeah, I forgot, it's Goku time. Pan brags about her Kamehameha, which confuses me. Are we supposed to assume this is her first time using it? That she just now learned it? I don't think that's new for her. She seemed to use one just fine during the Liang Xinglong fight. She readied one on him too, so I don't really know what that's supposed to be about. Anyway, the day is saved, the Dragon Ball is recovered, Pan tells Bish to visit her on Mount Paozu so she can teach him to fly. But wait, did defeating Liu Xinglong cure Bish's father's abuse of alcoholism? We're just gonna let bygones be bygones on that one, huh? The guy didn't really go through an arc, he just learned that the princess he was worshipping was evil. It's not like she was brainwashing or controlling him, so... I don't really see Dad's toxic conflict resolutions going away the next time Bish says something he doesn't agree with. Bish? Bish, I swear we're going to absolutely forget to call Child Protective Services about you. Bye! Like I said, this is probably the most memorable of the dragons, both because of her design and because there is some semblance of a story going on in the background. The problem is it's almost all background. Bish is a fine enough one-off figure in the vein of Upa. Liu has the faintest hint of a character. The town has a very faint aroma of... fish. No, I'm sure that's a very strong aroma. I'm just running out of colorful descriptors here. The town has a very faint aroma of conflict. Everything is hinted at, nothing is explored. It looks as though there could be a friendly connection between Pan and Bish. It looks as though there could be a message about laziness or overconsumption. I think there's just enough for the imagination to latch onto and remember fondly, but that's all in our heads, not in the episode. It's fine, but it could have been a lot more. I wish I had a stronger feeling about it. I don't think it's bad. It has good animation, it's directed very well, particularly the moment when time stops and the sound quiets when Goku was about to be knocked back by the wind. It has funny moments. The fighting is memorably set at a beach, the last to not take place primarily in a city. This is the only dragon with a wish memorable enough that I can consistently link her to it. Truth be told, this is probably my favorite outing with the evil dragons, but I don't know if that's just clearing a really low bar. But sometimes it's fine for an episode to simply be okay, especially in a more episodic format. It's just disappointing that there's nothing here that's really going to blow anyone away. Well, there was, but now they've killed the wind monster. Have I mentioned I'm funny? Well, as the narration kindly informs us and the show shows us, there are still 4 evil dragons to go. We will pick up with our heroic and noble effort to track them down and murder them next time. In the meantime, you can feel free to track me down and murder me. With your... money. That could be my worst segue of all time. Please don't do that. Don't track me any further than my Patreon page, patreon.com/MrFusion. And if you're going to throw money at me, do so gently, at a safe velocity. Geez, nobody should let me write this close to lunch. I get all lightheaded and nothing that comes out of my brain makes any sense. Please don't actually kill me. I'm just gonna go now. Bye. See you later. So long. Toodaloo. Toodaloo? Who even says that anymore?